Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, 12 More Rules for Life, Part 1. From an interview with Dave Rubin, March 2021, The Rubin Report. Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, 2018, published 12 Rules for Life, went on a worldwide lecture tour. 2019 and 2020, hospitalized and on the road to recovery. 2021, returned to podcasting, published 12 More Rules.
I just did it in an afternoon, the original list of rules. I was playing on Quora. Some kid had asked, what do you need to know in order to lead a good life, or what's most important to know, something like that. And I thought, well, I'll take a crack at answering this. And I made this list of 42 rules, and it got very popular on Quora. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. I had touched something for some reason. And out of that, when I was asked by an agent who contacted me, Sally Harding, she asked me if I was interested in writing something more popular, and I knew that those rules had found an audience, so that seemed to me to be a place to dive in. So anyways, I've only written about 24 of them. In the two books, I have them both here. You can see how they're structured.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
One's white and the other's black. They make a match set. You can read each of them independently, and one concentrates, the first one, An Antidote to Chaos, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos, does concentrate on the consequences of excess uncertainty. And the second book concentrates more on an excess of order. Both of those are fundamental existential dangers as far as I'm concerned. And in this universe of value, in the world of value, there are two major domains. And one domain is the domain of order. And you can technically define it. The domain of order is where you find yourself when what you're doing produces the results you want. And that's a really tight formulation, because it gives you a particular idea of what a place and time is. A place and time you occupy is, at any given moment, is the place and time that's defined by your current goal. And you have a map of value that guides you through the actions that are necessary in that domain. And if the result is what you want, which brings motivation and emotion into the picture, then, well, you get what you need or want, but you also validate your theory of existence, because it's good enough to produce the results that you desire. And given that you're fallible and that you don't know everything, you have to use proximal truths. And so something it's a pragmatic, it's a form of philosophical pragmatism. If you make a bridge and it stands up, then you know how to make a bridge. Mm-hmm. Why? Because the bridge stood up. Now, maybe you overbuilt it. You could have built it more elegantly, but it's sufficiently true so that the bridge functions. And we're like that. We're like engineers. We're cobbling together solutions all the time. And as long as those solutions work, we assume that we're right. Well, that's the domain of order. The domain of chaos emerges when you lay out a plan and into action, and something other than what you wanted emerges. And sometimes that can be a catastrophe. When something unexpected happens, all sorts of emotions and motivations break loose, fight and flight among them, anger among them. It gets disinhibited, because when you don't know what's happening, you have to prepare for everything. So you get anxious, and then you hyper-prepare, which is extremely stressful. And so the domain of chaos is extremely stressful. In small doses, it's exhilarating. Mm-hmm. And that's because, well, when you're where you don't know what's happening, you have the opportunity to learn and to expand your map. And so there's always an interplay between the domain of chaos and the domain of order, but they can each pathologize. And the pathologies of uncertainty are more associated with anxiety and nihilism and depression, and whereas the pathologies of order are more totalitarian.
On Quora, the question was posed, what do you need to know to lead a good life? Dr. Peterson made a list of 42 rules. The list of rules became very popular. He was asked by his agent to write a popular book on the rules. He has just published the second book. The two books cover 24 rules. They are a matched set. They can be read independently. The first book focuses on the consequences of excess uncertainty. The second book focuses on the consequences of excesses of order. In the universe of value, there are two domains. Order, where you find yourself when what you are doing produces the results you want. The place and time you occupy is where it is defined by your current goal. You have a map, a value that guides your actions in that domain. If you get the goal and it is what you want, it validates your theory of existence. Given that you don't know everything, you have to use proximal truths. If you make a bridge and it stands, you know how to make a bridge. We are like engineers. As long as our solutions work, we assume we are right. Chaos. When you lay out a plan and something other than what you wanted emerges, it can be a catastrophe. When something unexpected happens, emotions break loose, such as fight or flight and anger. It becomes disinhibited, have to prepare for everything. When you hyper-prepare, it's extremely stressful, but in small doses, it is exhilarating. You have the opportunity to learn. There is always an interplay between the domain of chaos and order. Each can pathologize. Uncertainty, which is chaos, can bring on anxiety, nihilism, depression. Order can have a more totalitarian outcome.